In this video, we'll be talking about why this chart was not only the most important to have on your lists over the last couple of weeks, as we've been mentioning, but also that it's still one of the most important to be looking at right now in the stock markets. Yesterday's movement probably proves that more than anything else. We're talking about today our technical analysis levels for the S&P 500, Nasdaq, Bitcoin, Tesla, dollar index, and more. The market is just heating up in April, but the question is, where does it go next? Stay tuned. Okay, well, as everybody knows by now on the channel, we love to look at this heat map here to get an idea of what was moving in the stock markets over the last 24 hours. And it was clear that semiconductors and technology were leading. Google was the standout along with Tesla after, of course, they produced more cars than their analyst estimates and of course had huge demand for their cars through the quarters. When we take a look at the actual indices, the Nasdaq was the number one. Nasdaq up 2%, very strong movement there, was the weakest during March and Feb, now is the strongest index coming out to play in April. S&P 500 was also driven higher due to this, and the poor Russell, only up 0.55%. But it's okay. I think the Russell can come back to play. Let's take a look here at the actual sectors. XLY, which is consumer discretionary, was doing the best. And then we had the technology sector doing pretty much equal with XLC communications. So technology and consumer discretionary ran the day, and energy did certainly not run the day, down 2.39%, but it's still up well since that November kind of bottoming effect. Let's have a look here at what we expect for April. For anyone that's new to the channel, this is one of the best things to be looking at, just in general, to give yourself a bit of consensus coming into certain months. This is the average S&P 500% change over 1928 to 2021, and you'll notice that April and July are notoriously great months. And I brought this up several times, but I do it because when you see technicals agreeing with statistics, it can be a match made in heaven. And it's certainly a very good thing that we've been looking at these on the charts. We knew March was a lackluster month, same with February in terms of tech. And now we're starting to move into what could be a decent month for tech. It's already started very, very hot. April still looks like it's going to be a massive month. Now, it's been averaging 12.7 over the last decade, but that's skewed big because of the GFC, the global financial crisis, and the pandemic. So always be careful of some of these stats, but it doesn't change that April is usually a bit of a bullish month. Let's get stuck into the technical analysis now, and we'll get started where else but the US dollar index. So the US dollar index came down through the stream last night. We were doing our normal stream coming into the pre-market. Come join us 2.5 hours every day of the week before the pre-market open in the stock market. We do crypto and we do stock markets and anything else really that's moving at the time. But we saw that new low being formed, and we talked about how it could go down here to the 92.50-ish range. It's now done that, and it had this strange spike in it before. But realistically, if the dollar index continues to move down, this is one of the signals that usually the stock market likes to move more up. I'm not too convinced, though, that it's going to go down that much more. We had that big breakout on the weekly 20. We've hit the weekly 50 exponential, and I mentioned that this was probably the key point on the channel because of the way it interacted with it in the past. See all that support, the dynamic support that was found? This is really the first touch of the 50 after that initial breakout that happened of the dynamic support. So you knew that there were going to be some sellers here. The question now remains, if the dollar index continues to fall, does it find further buying pressure? And we don't know that because there's no real great support resistance levels there. It's just coming off the resistance, and any closure above this 50 is going to no doubt mean 94, but even possibly the 96. So risk on, risk off is always the play on dollar index. At this stage, it looks bearish for now, possibly down to even a 92, and that will continue to drive things like the Nasdaq even higher. Let's get stuck into BTC quickly here because a lot of people are getting concerned about Bitcoin. In the stream last night, people were like, oh, what's going to go on here? Is Bitcoin weakening? Well, I think we're in what's called alt season. So because Ethereum, which is of course the largest altcoin, is moving past 2000, it usually means we're in what we call alt season. And alt season is a time where coins other than Bitcoin tend to perform better. Bitcoin has really struggled with this 60,000 area. Look at the amount of resistances through this zone and through this area over the last month. And this just proves that if Bitcoin can get through 60,000, the previous high over here of 61.7 or wherever it is not going to be that important. What is going to be important is the explosion factor that comes out after a 60,000 break. You're probably going to see something like a 65,000 or even possibly a 70,000, as Bitcoin likes to gravitate towards those levels, towards those round 5,000, 10,000 increments. BTC did a little double bottom yesterday. It's now coming back down to test it again. And if it does go up, the double bottom actual take profit is exactly the 60,000. So if you actually have a look here, you take it, you extrapolate it out. Let's do that now together. You'll notice it literally lines up exactly with 60,000. So everything's technically saying, okay, we're going to do some coiling for now in Bitcoin. But of course, if Bitcoin breaks underneath 57,000, possibly down to 54, and if it breaks above, there could be some serious moves on it upwards to the 65. So Bitcoin in the range right now. It's the other coins that are moving. Things like Cardano coming back down to that 116.50 support. Ethereum blasting through 2000 and holding it. Link, DOT, Uniswap, XRP, all of these coins have been performing a lot better over the last week. Let's take a look at gold. Another story about the dollar index. Some strength coming out here for gold. Now you'll notice, you guys know I love long leg doji. Long leg doji basically just got broken up above, giving some more direction to this idea of the gold double bottom. So we have the low in, we've got the low in again. We talked about this on the weekend video. I'm looking for a break above 1760 to solidify that we're actually back in a bull trend or back at the end of the bear trend for gold. And that will get through the 50 exponential, the blue line here on the daily. Now, there is even better news for gold bulls because this actually is showing some momentum follow through from what is an amazing rejection weekly. Look at that. Look at that pin bar hammer, guys. That is phenomenal pin bar hammer. And when you get the continuation movement, you know the gold can be back in town. This will also drag along silver if it does continue to rise. And really what you're watching is, can the dollar index fall a little bit further? If it continues to go down, that's going to really drive gold even higher. So dollar index is probably key to this trade right now. Let's take a look at the markets as well. Tesla fans, 691 in the close. Not ideal. I would have preferred to see 700 plus. Tesla had a pretty good production report. It looked like there was a lot of demand for their cars, and obviously they were struggling to keep up with that demand, but they've got plans in place for that. So things look good, and the market liked it, but the market didn't like it enough to hold the 700 level. 700 still remains one of the key levels here, but I'm still looking at the 720 for Tesla traders. Get your 720 up. That's this resistance over here. And this area here, once it breaks through here, it really will start to move up. And I believe the slingshot effect here could be something like this. Movement up, going up to the 800, 780 area. Previous massive amounts of support at 800. I would not be surprised at all for sellers to come in very heavily around that zone. 700, 720 points to watch this week. And I'd like to see Tesla open a bit more bullish tomorrow with a 700 close ideal in that area. Let's have a look here as well at semiconductors. We've been talking about this. A lot of big brain people in the community right now mentioning semiconductors last week and breakouts. They said, Tom, what do you think of this breakout? I said, it's a breakout, guys. A very, very nice looking position, and it's instantly gone into the resistance. Look, semiconductors are here to stay. We know that several different semiconductor companies all had similar breakouts to this. Some were going a little bit later, some were going earlier, depending on the strength of the company. There's still opportunities in the area. And I think that this really just shows when you get that closure, look at what happens. Gap up movement, movement again strong into the bullish. I wouldn't be surprised at all for semiconductors to hit a new all-time high here in terms of this VanEck SMH. But this is the thing, it's an opportunity and a great technical. So congratulations to the people in the community on that one. Another thing to note, we talked about FANG and the sleeper hits of Amazon, the sleeper hits of Google, Facebook, etc. Look at Google yesterday here, 2,218. Google broke out with this candle. It then went crazy yesterday, banking a 4.19% day. That is phenomenal power for Google. It's pretty much moved to the next level. Maybe there's a little bit more in it. Continue to watch the FANG index, which has now hit the resistance, which we'll be talking about soon. But yeah, phenomenal move here in Google throughout the session. Let's have a look at the US 100. Everyone's all eyes are on this one as well. US 100, the Nasdaq had a great day yesterday, led by FANG stocks, led by that serious bullish pressure. This is our profit area. So this is basically what we've been kind of talking about. The inverse head and shoulders is in play. It never really broke underneath or anything like that. It held, it got a bit scary, but it held throughout the March session. And now we've closed here at the 13.6. And I said, look, this could be a little bit of a resistance over here. I've always maintained 13.6 was the most likely area for it to get to first. Then maybe a little bit of a pullback and then movement up. I don't know if I care about this last all-time high. I think it's going to go continue on and possibly moves towards just underneath the 14,400. This is the take profit of the inverse head and shoulders. So there's a lot of technical room to play here through the months of April and so on because of how much prediction there is in the charts right now and just the bullish strength that's coming through. So let's now take a look at the chart that we've all been talking about and we've really been focusing in on, and that's the FANG. And the FANG really showed how great it was. We got that closure above, the trend looked great, everything looked great coming into it, and it just smashed straight into the resistance yesterday. Phenomenal movement here from Google, Facebook, Netflix, everything else. And why is this? Well, because people have been sleeping on it. It was this high back in September. So you've got to remember, this is actually September 20 last year's results. You had a 4x speed year in terms of 4x growth through a lot of these companies. You've got Google and Facebook bringing up their ad costs. You've got mass media moving into it. So as in lots of companies are now advertising online, putting more budget towards that. It just makes logical sense that these things are going strong. Look, I think FANG is probably setting up for a new all-time high, similar to the Nasdaq, similar to everything else that's going on. Continue to watch how it deals with the resistance tomorrow because it is at the resistance. If it continues to blast through it, well, you know where the Nasdaq kind of target could be from a technical level. Obviously, you've got to make your own decisions and do your own type of stuff. But yeah, very strong price action here on the charts. Sp500, very strong as well, 4,077. As we pretty much talked about as a community, 4,000 was nothing for this. And we know this because we always look at the charts and we always say, hey, it's coiling, it's pulling back just before. That means it's going to smash the level. And we were correct on that. Many other people out there said 4,000 resistance. Wrong, unfortunately. The reason why is because it coiled just before the level. Guys, learn about this. It makes so much difference to your trading when you understand when a market stops just before, it gets ready, and when it gets through that resistance, it completely blasts it. It just destroys all the sellers at that key zone. So now our tech level comes into play, and you know what this is. This is the trend line, the channel's trend line. Is it going to work again like it's worked so many times for us since really November, December last year? We're getting close to it almost straight away. If the market goes up from here and it hits smash bang into the trend line, that's 41.25. Put it on your charts, check it out, and then of course, maybe break it down to the smaller time frames. But things are heating up here and it looks like faster than we expected. The S&P 500 trend line is coming in. All right, guys, if you enjoyed this video, please remember to, of course, subscribe, hit that like button, come and join us 2.5 hours before the market open. It is always a lot of fun. And I just want to say a massive shout out to the community. Get into the Discord. The links are down below to get in there to the free public Discord. Come and join in on the fun. Post your memes, post your wins and losses, post everything. And we've got some new sections coming to the live chats because it's going to be a lot of fun. And I look forward to seeing you there. Bye for now, guys.